All right. Afternoon, everyone.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 19, where again we're getting hit with a couple of other bullets. But I'm Bales at BalesDT. You can find me on Twitter. And then you've got Tim, and you can find Tim at TimGuestAU on Twitter. Tim, mate, how are you?
Good, mate. Self?
Yeah, good, mate. How's the week been? You've been away for the last few days, so enjoying your time away?
I've been down south in Denmark, on the real south coast of WA here for the last 5 days. It's been absolutely beautiful. Weather was pretty average, but it's kind of nice when you got that kind of weather down south. So yeah, it was just good to get away for 5 days and kind of relax and change the scenery and all that kind of stuff. It's good.
Perfect. Yeah, I've just been relaxing, sort of just watch some movies. Actually, funny enough, we got Ryan Core listening, actor. That I watched Wolf Creek 2, mate. So enjoyed that movie. Not the best ending for you, mate, but in the movie, but it was a good movie nonetheless. Let's get stuck into the footy talk. So, Tim, mate, you've obviously got, you have got Rory Laird, 100% of the top 100 got Rory Laird. Everyone's got to deal with this big issue. Where do you sit on this? Is it just a must trade at this time of the year? Is it team dependent? If you've got if you've got rookies on field, do you try and get them off first, or do you just trade him?
Look, I don't think it's straight. I mean, we don't know that he's coming back next week. I don't think there's been any commentary out of the club that's really kind of confirmed that it's just a 1 week thing. And I just don't think at this time of year you can afford to hold a player for 1 week. I mean, I think we would have been stuck holding some players last week just because of the circumstances. But if you give it another choice, I think you definitely got to trade.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think it's a trade at this time of the year. If you've got a rookie on field, it's just as easy. You can go like a Roy Laird down to an LDU, let's say, and then you might be able to get say for example, it's a Sheldrick. You might be able to go a Sheldrick up to like a Luke Jackson or something like that. Or if you've got your rookies off field, for a lot of people have got the rookies off field. Which premium mid are you targeting? You've got plenty. You've got Bont, you've got Merritt, guys like that at the top. You've got your Sarongs and guys like that around the same price. And you go a little bit down. You've got your Toot Millers, Jack Steels, LDUs. Where are you heading with Rory Laird?
So, let's not talk about where I'm heading just yet, right? Let's keep it general because I think I'm pretty certain where I'm going, but I'm not 100% locked in. But I agree actually with Mitch. Watching the Ball Boys before, he said the number one option is Doherty, and I actually think that's spot on this week with the outs. If you don't have Doherty, that is, I know he's relatively highly owned, but if you don't have him, great matchup with the outs at Carlton. I think he's going to get a lot of. He might get some midfield time as well. So I think he's the best option. And he's 9.14 or 9.11 or something like that. So he's one of the cheapest options.
Then you got Brayshaw, Parrish, Doherty,
Sarong, you mentioned before, I think.
And then you got two.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of options.
Steele and LDU's the cheapest.
So I'm probably looking at going to Took. I've already got LDU. I brought him in last week. So, and I've still got the issues. And look, I mean, even if you haven't got a rookie on field, there's probably coaches out there that still got like a Harry Himmelberg or a Darcy Cameron. I've got both. Maybe you could even throw like Callum Mills into that mix.
I thought I'd just play for listeners because you just reminded me with Himmelberg. I'm a bit nervous he'll be playing forward this week with the changes. So if anyone did miss that, Jesse Hogan is out injured and Nick Haynes came in. So I was saying in a group chat before, I can't imagine that all of Jack Buckley, Sam Taylor, Connor Iden, Lockie Whitfield, Harry Himmelberg, Lockie Ash, Nick Haynes and Isaac Cumming all playing defence. So I think the fact that
and he's scored. Look, he's scoring 70s, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So he can go Himmelberg. If you can trade him, then that's obviously a good move.
So the reason why I'm going Laird to Took is that gives me enough cash to get Himmelberg to Sheasel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it, mate.
And I do like the Saints matchup.
And Zeebel's out as well. He'll be the sub apparently. That was confirmed before. So that means Shees will pretty much have it all to himself back there unless they decide to put some sort of attention into him. So, but
yeah, I think that's what coaches should be looking to do. You know, if you have still got one of these kind of like mid prices, or these not top 6 defenders or forwards, maybe even like I said before, a Mills. I think an LDU I really like LDU as a pick. I picked it at the start of the year, and I think that's an excellent trade to and then give you some cash to go up.
Just on LDU, because a lot of people have been speaking about him. He's the most traded in player this week, just due to the value there. Are you worried about any potential tags there at all? A few people a bit concerned, like you've got maybe a Hunter Clark or even a Winhager goes with him. Bytel's in the side, and Bytel has run with people in the past. Is there a bit of a concern there, or are you still fine with it?
There's a little bit of a concern, but look, there's quite a few different options to tag there. So look, I'm still not convinced that the taggers. I mean, look, there are a couple of taggers we need to be worried about, but I'm just. Look, I am a bit concerned about it, but I'm not. It's not enough to force me away from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's fair. And a lot of people have been speaking about on podcasts and that this year that sometimes I think I think it was Luke on Monday was actually talking about the fact that sometimes he would have got LDU last week, but he was afraid of the tag, and LDU popped the 138. And I think it's funny because the times that we were like, they're going to get tagged, we don't get him in, they pop a good score. But then when we bring him in and we say, we don't care about tagged, then they get tagged. So it's sort of the...
Yeah. And look, it's not an easy question. I mean, I think, we talked yesterday about a couple of options I was looking at. I mean, I was looking at potentially going a lead to Doc, and then I could bring in get a Harry Himmelberg to a Flanders. Or the other option I could do was go a lead to Doc and get a Darcy Cameron to Sheasel, but that would still leave me with the Harry Himmelberg, field. Yes. So, I'm not entirely convinced, and I think partly one of the decisions we've got to make this time of year is you do have to start. You're not so much looking for the long term; you're looking for the matchup, and in almost every matchup, there's going to be questions or flags about tags and rolls and. How good that opponent is to score against. And, one of the things, we've talked about Doc being, a top 6 defender, but he's been playing up on the wing a lot more lately. Even, there's been some suggestion also that, with a bit of the change to the Carlton gameplay over the last couple of weeks, that he's not going to get as much ball as well, right? So, so it's none of these options are guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's question marks about all of them, and it's consequential. I've sat there all week, and it's amazing. This is what I did partly on my holiday was, just analysing all these different combinations. Like, all right, well, what will Darcy Cameron score? What will Harry Himmelberg score? What will Doherty score? What will Sam Flanders score? What will Shees will score, and you're just trying to do your best to come up with the best. And I don't know. I guess the way I like to choose is I like to choose what I think is going to give me the best probability of success. I just try and weigh things up of what's the least risky and what's the most solid. And I think for me, Took underpriced, was a top 2 player last year. They've kind of been some conversations about his role lately. It's not the best matchup this week, but if he's getting more midfield time or CBAs, I think he's got the opportunity to go 110, 120. And Sheasel, he was on track for a 160 if it wasn't for that third quarter tagging last week. So, make the best decision I can, lock it in, cross my fingers, and then celebrate when I smash Mitch this weekend and become the champion.
I was just going to say the other thing as well is that if people out there are sort of going, I don't know if I should choose Bont or Merritt, or I don't know if I should choose Parrish or Sarong or whatever. Just I think at the end of the day, I think it also comes down to 2 things. One, who you think will score the most from here on in, because we're not going on who's averaged the most up to here. We want to get the players that are averaging the most for the last 6 weeks. But also, if you like one player more than the other, then just go get the player that you like the most, because then you're going to enjoy watching them play. And because it's a 50-50 call, you just want to go with the guy that you want. So that's probably what I'd advise.
So, Buzz, can I say something about this? I want to say something about this, right? So, and well, this is something we hear in the community a bit, right? Like, trust your gut, and then pick who you like. Well, I don't know. When people say that, I'm like, what? I can't trust my gut. I don't have an answer. That's why I've asked you guys the questions, right? So that's often what's there for me when people say that. So I think partly we've got to kind of, it's all well and good to say that, but we've got to give our opinion and then just let people give the argument behind our opinion and then let people make their decision. And then the other thing is that the player that I'm going to enjoy to watch the most is the one that's going to fucking score me the most, right? Like I don't have any. I couldn't, I know there's some, maybe extreme examples like a Rory Lobb or, but I really couldn't care what a player looks like. I really only care what they score. So the player I want to put in is the one that's going to score me the most. So once again, don't tell me that that sit on the fence bullshit. Give me a fucking answer. Who do you think is going to score the most?
That's funny.
But yeah, look, at the same time, it's really hard this week. When we're comparing things like Sarong and Merritt and Bont. I guess we could probably try and rank them. I would have Bont above everyone.
Yeah.
Merritt probably second.
I've said to people, if you can go out and get Bont this week, if you've got your rookies off, you don't need the cash for anything, and you're just picking a player, I think Bont's the one you go for. He's shown that.
Sarong, I'm not that. Sarong and Brayshaw, they're kind of just drifted a bit down the. Like they're just playing in such a crap side. They're just, I don't know. I don't have a huge amount of confidence in them, which is a shame because I love that bloody that Freo midfield.
Yeah.
Who else are we thinking about?
Well, they haven't had quite
Parrish.
The ceiling of, I think Brayshaw's only gone one score over 115. I think in his last, 6 or 7. So it'd be interesting to see where coaches go anyway. But yeah, apologies if I did talk over you, Tim. The internet here's been a little bit iffy, so it sometimes sort of cuts out.
Not at all, mate. Look,
I can't hear people
speaking.
Probably what what are your?
Probably right.
Because we talked about a few of the options. What are your trades? What are you looking at doing ahead of this week? For anyone?
Can you hear me, mate? Bales, you there? Hello. Okay. Seems like you can't hear me. I'm going to hop off and get back on.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Tim has decided something's happened there. I'm not sure what is going on. Hang on. Tim is back. You there, Tim?
You got me, mate?
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. I was talking. I'm not sure if anyone could hear me, but I know you couldn't hear me, so I hopped off and jumped back on.
Okay, yeah. It's the internet here sometimes goes in and out a bit, and I sort of can't hear someone for like 5-10 seconds, and then if they're near the end of the sentence, it's like I don't know if I should talk or not. So,
yeah, okay.
Apologies if we were talking over each other, guys. But what were you saying? I was obviously missing that.
I think I was just trying to put some of those people in order.
Oh yeah, well, I think, as you said, I think Bont's up the top. And you said Merritt, you'd probably have 2. I'd probably agree based on just the ceiling and what he can do. Who would you have at number 3? There's plenty of options there. I know you're not the biggest fan of Parrish, but other people have been liking. We obviously talk about Sarong there. You got your Took, Steele, and then your LDU is the next couple.
Yeah, the thing I do like about a Parrish is the uniqueness. But I've never really been too much of a unique.
You just look at fan. Yeah, you just look at who's going to score the most. Yeah. That's it.
When there's 22 players on field, I think, there's always some level of uniqueness, and it's just about having the best scoring side you can every single week.
Yeah. Would you?
And,
I think I'd have. Would you have Steele number 3? I just think that for the value there, I'd probably have him behind those 2 big guys. I don't know if you would agree with that. And we're talking about
which 2 big guys?
Mids, Merritt and Bont. So Bont for 1, and then Merritt probably 2. Would you have a Steele number 3? Or would you have one of the guys, maybe, like we said, like a Sarong, Brayshaw, Parrish, someone like that ahead of him, or even an LDU?
I think LDU is such good value, and I think that adds such a big benefit, particularly at this time of the year, right? Like we were talking about before, if you can go down to an LDU, you can probably fix something up. Once again, I think, and I did see this on the Ball Boys before. I think Luke was looking at bringing in a 23rd premium, but still had Mills on the bench, and I was kind of like, man, don't do the 20th. Like, why loop? Who were the options? There was a Sheasel, I think it was like a Mills, a Darcy Cameron, and someone else, and so maybe a Keys. And it was like, why wouldn't you just downgrade one and get Mills up to like a big dog? I mean, that's just taken up I think if you've got Mills in the midfield, it's going to be, you're losing 20, 30 points right there, because there could be a player in there that's going, 120 rather than a Mills, which is more like probably a 90, or could even be worse. So, yeah, look, it's tough, and I think the cash is what's actually going to make the decision for a lot of coaches this week. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of coaches that can just go to whoever they want. Laird in the best option. It's going to be, okay, well, I need some cash here to fix up another spot. What can I make work? What's the combination, the best combination? You're on mute, mate. All right, he's gone. Maybe he's having too much trouble with his internet. Let me just check. Can someone just comment or message in the tweet in the space below, just so I know that you guys can hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you because I've got the YouTube stream in the background, and you're coming through fine. It's just, I don't know, the stupid internet. It keeps sort of cutting out for like 10 seconds, but sometimes it goes long, and I can't hear what you're saying. I can only hear it goes like it does like a noise every like 5 seconds. So it's a bit annoying. I can't jump off though. But why can't you switch to mobile data rather than because
internet for your phone rather than the YouTube stream?
I think that sometimes, I think I did that last time, and that completely, like, I couldn't hear anything at all. So I'll try it, but I don't know if it'll work. Let's have a look. So all right, so it's turned off. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah, mate. Can you hear me? Bales?
Okay, so you can hear me, but I can't hear you, Tim. So if you just want to jump off for a sec and then jump back on, that might fix it. Because I can hear you on the YouTube stream, but not on the Twitter space. Apologies, people, for this technical difficulty. It's very, very frustrating. If we don't get it fixed, I'll maybe just start the space again. Hopefully this works. This should work. Tim? Perfect. Yes, yeah, got you. Okay, good. We should be good from now. Okay, perfect. Apologies, everyone, for the few difficulties here with the Wi-Fi and stuff. But yeah, so I heard you were saying about like the saving of the cash for LDU and that. But who would you go out of Steel and LDU? That's obviously a few people go. And I even had Took in this because this has been another sort of popular question that people have been going. Let's rank probably the three. So who would you be going at number one?
Well, I think, without stealing Mini Monk's, catchphrase, team dependent, I think that's the answer. I think what teams are going to be looking for this week, when you've got 95% of owners have Rory Laird in the top 100 and top 1,000, nearly everyone's going to have to deal with that situation. And I think that nearly everyone is going to be in a situation where they don't have best 22, where they've got a dud or two on their field, whether that's a Mills, Darcy Cameron, a Himmelberger, something along those lines. So I think what's going to be the decision that coaches are going to have to make this week is going to be more about the combination, right? Rather than which is the best player. Because to be perfectly honest, if you're lining up like a Steele, like potentially even a Took, and probably an LDU, I don't know. I have no idea which one of those is going to score the most. And I just don't think there's actually very much difference between them. So you might want to look at matchup, you might want to look at run, but I think the thing that's going to make the decision is probably first option is an LDU, because it gives you the cash to upgrade that other option. But not because LDU is better.
Yeah, I've been saying the way I've been ranking the three this week is people have asked me, would you rather Steele or LDU and then Tukey in that mix as well? I've got Steele at number one. I think he'll score the most from here on. He's got North this week, Hawthorn next week. So I'd have him at 1. I have LDU at 2. And then I'd have Tukey at 3. And I know the boys at Pod actually raised this point on their pod during the week. But the only thing that maybe makes me a little bit concerned with Tukey going forward, because people are going, Tukey's gone over he's gone 120 before in a season and this, that, and the other. But got to remember that year was when Rao was injured and Noah Anderson. I think it was his second or third year or whatever it was. Second year, third year, one of the two.
I don't think
he was early in, so he wasn't
not
scoring that. So he's closer to 110 and probably somewhere maybe that 105 to 115, like 115 being his huge ceiling. So that's why I've got him lower, just because Anderson and Rao have taken that step up. So I just don't see him putting up those monster ceiling scores. Whereas LDU, he's got that midfield essentially to himself at the moment. He's no Simpkin, obviously Greenwood and Phillips and guys like that came in this week, but LDU's shown that he's got the ceiling. He showed the back end last year. He showed the first 2 weeks this season. He's shown the last 2 weeks here. So they would be how I'd rank those three. But moving on because we obviously got just over half an hour to go. We'll get to questions very, very shortly. And there's a few people listening in. So you got Doss, Holmesy, Liam, Fry. If any of you boys want to jump on and have a chat with us, answer some questions and stuff, feel free. Just quickly, for anyone that missed it before, Tim, what were your trades for this week? Were you looking at?
So Rory Laird and Harry Himmelberg out, and I'll be bringing in Touk Miller and Harry Sheasel.
Yeah, and then I'll be going. Had 230k in the bank, which was very, very nice with Windhager's big score. So I'm going a Rory Laird to at this stage Zach Merritt, and I'm going Lockie Ash to LDU with just over 100k in the bank. But I've also looked at Parrish and Sarong as another combo that I've looked at. So it'd be interesting to get people.
Sorry, what were your first options?
Merritt and LDU, or Sarong and Parrish. They're the two options I'm looking at. I don't know if I can do Parrish and Touk, but as I said before, I think I'd rather get LDU anyway. So, but yeah, it's interesting. At the moment, I've got Merritt and LDU. I just think Merritt has been the one guy that's been killing me not owning him and going to 150s. And he has, as you've said it the last few weeks, that you want midfielders in your midfield averaging and scoring 120 essentially for the last 5-6 weeks. And I think Merritt's shown he's got that ceiling. I think he can do that. And I think LDU could maybe not get 120, but he can score 120 in a given week. So that's where I'm leaning. Would you be leaning the same way over Parrish and Sarong?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is. I think I would be going Merritt and LDU.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, look, I'm just, I'm always, Parrish is just going to be so hit and miss, and then Sarong, once again, I'm still, I don't necessarily have data to back it up that I can roll out, but I just still get the sense that he overperformed early in the year. And, I'm just not convinced by Freo really either.
Having a look, I did I did like a vote yesterday, put it up just to get people's thoughts. And Merritt and LDU 52%, Parrish and Sarong 35%, Parrish and LDU 13%. So Merritt and LDU was the favourite pretty clearly. Yep. So that's what people are saying. So, but let's go to a bit of captain talk for a couple of minutes. It's a bit of a weird round not weird round, so difficult round to pick a vice captain, because I think majority of people are pretty set on Jordan Dawson as their captain. He's been number one across a lot of the captain pickers across the socials and the fantasy community. But VC, you've got plenty of good options. You've got a few tonight. You've got Bont, English, Merritt, Parrish, if anyone want to go there. You've got tomorrow. You've got a Sicily, Taranto, Doherty, even a Goulden against Freo, with H being out of the side as well. So what are your current plans? What are you looking at doing with your VC and your captain?
So I think there's a lot of flags over a lot of the guys. So can you just run through them again, and I'll kind of talk about the flags. Bont tonight is the possible Archie Perkins tag. English tonight is the tough Essendon ruck matchup. And then who's the other for tonight?
Parrish and Merritt.
Parish and Merritt. Yeah,
Merritt could be a good shout.
Yeah, I think, once again, I'm just concerned about Western Bulldogs. It can be a really tough midfield matchup, I think. Oh, no, they're not, actually. Are they? Yeah, no, they are. Oh, they're not really tough, but they can be tough. But, look, I don't mind. Look, I'm going Bont. I think he could get a ceiling score, but I'm not that happy about it. I don't have a doc. I would be going doc, personally, as a VC. I think there's a chance that he doesn't have a huge score, but I think there's also a chance that he does go big. And I think as a VC, that's a really good shot because you're falling back into Dawson anyway.
Yeah, Dawson's been going, I think he's gone under 120, like his last 5 or something like that. I'm just having a look here. So Dawson's last 7 scores, he's gone 135, 128, 105 against the Eagles, 172, 136, 128, 123. So a bit like that Taranto at the start of the year where he's just that safe, reliable captain on the Sunday against Melbourne at the MCG where no Laird, they're going to need to stand up. So I agree. I've actually, I was pretty much one of the Bont or English or someone all week, but the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, well, I actually do like the Doherty VC tonight against the Eagles. So I don't think it's in a cop attention either.
The other thing I like about it, I like dodging a Thursday or Friday night VC because
I always do as well, yeah.
I tend to find that the crowd goes for it just because that's what we've kind of done in the past. And so it gives you an opportunity at a unique vice captain rather than going with the crowd.
I can actually see the game tonight being a game where you have 6 or 7 players score 100, but they all score between 100 and like a 120 or even a 125. I don't know. I don't know if I feel that a lot of players are going to go 130, 140 tonight. That's not to say they're not. That's just a prediction because that's obviously what we're doing with our VCs and Cs and pretty much with our fantasy stuff, just about projections. But I just feel like it's a game where Marv would be points to be spread across a lot of players and you might have a few tons, but maybe not any huge tons. So, but yeah, funny enough, I only changed before when I saw like all the captain rankings and stuff, and I thought Doc, and I thought, I'm a bit like you. I don't like going to Thursday or Friday VC unless it's like a slam dunk, like it was last week against Sydney. I remember Marshall against a Ruckless. Was it Port early in the year or someone? He went to 159 or something against. So unless it's an obvious one. Whereas tonight, as you said, there's not really an obvious sort of VC. Yeah, Port Adelaide was the matchup for Marshall there. So. But yeah, so I missed if you said it before. Your VC, what do you said obviously?
Yeah, so I'm going Bont just because.
Bont, right, yeah.
I don't have Doc, and I'm not 100% confident. Look, he might get the tag and we might not. If it fails, then it's a VC, right? So it's not a big deal. So that's how I'm thinking about it anyway.
Yeah, and I guess in my case as well, I'd ranked 4-2. I want to make a move to try and get top 1,000. I can't be VCing the Friday and like the majority of the crowd where they go for VC. I can't be going that way. I've got to try and get points another way. So I feel like Doherty's not going to be a very high VC at all because a lot of people just said they're going to go Bont, Merritt, something like that tonight. So getting Doherty, hoping for a single score might be good. So, but we have got Fry has jumped on back-to-back pods with us. Fry, mate, how you going?
I'm well, lads. Thanks for having me.
How are you, mate?
Good. Second time on. So, yeah, I thought I'd...
this week.
I know. I've been listening to you on the drive home and just got home and cracked a beer. So I thought I'd jump in and help talk about some of the VC captain options and rank some of those big dog midfielders. Because you're right, it's a lot going on this week.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on what we've been talking about so far, mate?
Well, touching on some of those big guys first, because I held over Tom Green from last week. I locked my trades in, so there was nothing I could do. So I've got the Tom Green, Rory Laird double. And I think, harping back to what you were saying last week, Tim, I think you really need to upgrade and get those big guns and the blokes that are going to access 120 plus pretty regularly, or at least try to. But I do love the value that LDU offers this week. I feel like if you're going to avoid paying up top dollar for one of the big Bont, Merritt, Parish, Sarong types, then LDU is probably the one to go for. But someone that you didn't mention as well, who I'm looking at with my trades, is Jack Steele. He's a bloke, obviously got a pretty proven track record of fantasy success in the past, and I wouldn't be shocked if he was one of the top, call it 4 or 5 scorers in the last 6 weeks. They got a juicy run of fantasy fixtures anyway. So yeah, it's interesting. It's tough to rank those blokes because they're all very similar, obviously. But yeah, I think that Steele and LDU, maybe, I think you save about $100,000 going Rory Laird to someone like Jack Steele. So those two discounted blokes might even be worth a bit of a shout, because then it leaves you with a little bit of cash next over to patch up the other issues in your team.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I've been saying, as I said to Tim before, I've been saying that I'd go Steele,
especially against
LDU.
North this week as well.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, that's right. The only thing, they're funny enough, as a owner, and I know that DC and a few other people, a lot of people actually, when they jumped on Steele, we actually jumped on Jack Steele for the corresponding fixture of Saints versus North Melbourne, and Steele only scored an 85 that game, and he was playing forward for a little bit. His role was very odd, but I think that he'll be fine this week, and I expect a better score than that. I was just going to say, Fries, well, mate, you heading down to Varsity tonight?
Nah, not tonight. My housemate actually gets back from Europe, so I'm earning some brownie points there and picking him up from the airport, etc. But yeah, I'll definitely dip down before the season's out. That's for sure.
Perfect. Well, if anyone is in the Perth area,
an All-Star night tonight, haven't we?
All-Star night. We've got the DC couple, Mr. and Mrs. DC, are heading down to Varsity. Obviously, me and Tim will be there as well. Jeff will be there. Plenty of other people will be there as well. The usual crew. I think Kara's dropping down for a little bit as well. So
should be for a beer.
Should be good fun. And I think we tried to get Holmesy, but I know with the little one, he might not be able to get
it's a
away,
bit tough.
Yeah. But no, it should be a good night. Fry, what are you looking at doing your captain and VC this week? So it's a bit of a tough week for the VC, but I think a lot of people have got a Dawson captain.
Yeah, I think I'll follow suit and have Dawson as my backup plan, but I'm actually going to put the V on Doherty, a bloke that you've been talking about before. I do also love to hold off doing it from using your VC in the first game of the round, but yeah, that Essendon Bulldogs game is a really tricky one to pinpoint who's going to perform well. I wouldn't be shocked if it was pretty similar, like you said, Bales. There was a lot of players hitting their average, call it, but no big ceiling scores. But I think Timmy English is probably the one that I have the most faith in, given the lineup situation with Essendon. But Andrew Phillips isn't exactly a known for stopping opposing ruckman.
Yeah, the one thing I like with English tonight is that Sam Darcy is out through that obviously big corky, and they didn't actually bring in another sort of recognised backup ruckman. So I'm sort of looking at, well, who's going to be backup rucking with English? Is it going to be a Norton or a Hugh Hagan? I don't know, but I think English is going to have a pretty big workload tonight. So I could see him putting up a pretty good score, a bit similar to he did last week. So I think he played 100% of the second half last week. So he showed that he can run out
he looked
a large portion of the game.
He looked screwed, though, towards the end of that game.
He looked gassed, yeah.
And funny enough, that's part of the reason why I'm almost going against him tonight, because I'm thinking, well, having such a big workload last week, going into this week, he's going to have another big workload. Is he just going to maybe start off well, but then sort of slow down a fair bit later? But then again, I think someone said that he only had 4 marks and 1 tackle, which was season lows in terms of the combined of the two, and normally goes a bit better than that. So
look, I'm not great with the Essendon lineup, right? But why would they have brought Andrew Phillips in? I mean, I would have thought that the reason why they brought in a 2 ruck is because they're concerned about going up against English, and they're probably going to try and do a job, or they're trying to compensate for that. Is that how you see the teams being named there?
I just don't.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tim.
Yeah, I agree as well. And I think that because Andrew Phillips was suspended last week, I think he would have played last week anyway. But because Nick Bryan played pretty well, I think that they're like, well, we can't drop him, but we're also coming up against Tim English. So sort of, as you said, could do the double against him. Sort of like, well, one goes to the contest and maybe the other one, if they're playing forward, could maybe follow English around the ground. So that could
double team the rock llama.
Yeah, exactly right. So...
Timmy English did have 60 hit-outs last week as well. So.
Wasn't it a record? Was it a record?
Yes,
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he broke Darcy from the week before. Darcy had 58 and then English got 60. I didn't see English getting the hit-out record.
Yeah, and there's only one other game, just having a bit of a look through his stats, only had one other game this year where he's hit 40. So you'd expect that number to dip a bit, but like you said as well, Bales, the marks and tackles will probably go up a bit. So I reckon it's something around the 115, 120 marks on the cards, but I think I'm going to, much like you guys, just wait on my VC, try and do a Doc Dawson combo.
Yeah, and I've also got this little sort of little superstition thing. It doesn't come in too much, but every now and again I'm like, well, there aren't too many players that go 140 odd the 1 week and then they back it up with another 130, 140 score. So it's I almost want to try and pick a guy that hasn't had a sitting score for a bit because they're going to pop off. Like, for example, Doherty hasn't gone for a 140 yet for a fair while, and he got an 88 last week. I just feel that he might be able to go for a big one this week. So.
Actually, that's one person I did want to ask about in terms of VCs and Cs. And speaking of players that have backed up in the past, Errol Goulden, how do you guys see him going up against the Dockers this week? I was kind of thinking about him as a sneaky VC as well.
I like him. He got a 161 against Freo early in the year, and the fact that has been, I think, injured or something like that, so he's not playing.
Yeah, he's out injured.
Yeah, so I don't see really any attention being thrown his way. And I'm just looking at the weather, and there doesn't seem to be any rain on the way either, which is always nice. So it'll be clear conditions. So I like it. Fry, mate. What are your thoughts? Obviously, being the Freo man, Gordon come up against your Dockers. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's one that I've looked at as well, and probably someone that I'll captain in draft, to be honest. Does score well when he plays at Optus. Obviously, loves the +6 game, getting a lot of marks and kicking it into the forward line. So I do expect him to score well. Probably deserves more recognition than he's getting. Actually, now that you mentioned him, Tim, he's gone 126, 126, 128, 145. So going to Bales saying that, that it's not often that there are those guys that consistently churn out 125 plus. You'd think that Goulden and Dawson are probably the only two doing it at the moment. So, yeah, Goulden's someone that definitely should be on your radar as a vice captain or captain choice.
I'm just having a look. So he's got an average of 122 against Freo in his 3 games. So he got a 153 against them early in the year. Last year, he got a 110. And then the year before that, in his first year, he got a 105. So he's tunning every game against Freo.
Speaking of enjoying your fantasy, there would be nothing better than me watching Errol Goulden with the VC go 150 against the Dockers. That would just make my weekend.
Mate, I'm going to the game. The more that I look at it, the more I'm now seriously considering doing the Doherty VC earlier in the day and then just putting the C on Errol and hoping that he has 1,000 kicks. Because, there won't be too many blokes you'd think following him closely. Yeah. It's a good one to consider for sure.
Yeah. Let's get into the questions. We've got 20 minutes left. People have heard I was rambling on for 40 minutes, but just want to give a shout out to Brendan on YouTube for the $10 donation there. He says, I hate fantasy, still have Sheldrick and Wilmot in my team, FFS. So, yeah, Brendan, apologies for that, mate. It's been a few weeks since I watched on get the team update, but appreciate the donation nonetheless. So thank you to that. And thank you to everyone tuning in on the Twitter space. Got over 130 watching, and then we got nearly 30 people on YouTube tuning as well. Thanks, guys, for that. So let's get into some of these questions. Hopefully, we've answered a few of them with the discussion. But Belinda's got the first one. Touk or Parish, Fry? Who are you going out of the two? So we've gone the other guys, but who are you going out of those two?
I think I'm picking Parish, but I am a little bit biased on Parish. I traded for him a few weeks ago, right before he started coming back into the side and hit those 120s. And I think that Touk, there's a little bit of uncertainty around the midfield mix with the Gold Coast. We know that Touk will be thrown in there at times, and you'd think with Stephen King running the show that he'll just put the magnet in the ruck rover spot and let him do his business. But I feel a little bit safer with Parish tonight against the Dogs.
I think he's got a bigger ceiling than Touk has got at the moment as well.
Probably, yeah. I'd go Parish.
Yeah, I just saw we have a listener, Sanch, mate. We haven't had you on this year, so if you want to jump on, mate, feel free to jump on. And he's just left, so he does not want to jump on. That was funny. As soon as I said that, he disappeared. So, Sanch probably doesn't want to jump on today.
He knew, mate. He knew you were going to try and get him on.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, we'll go to some other questions and just move past that embarrassing moment. H. Dodd says, who goes first down with Himmelberg, Mills, or Keys, Tim? So I think before we do that, I can rule out Keys.
Playing forward, yeah. Himmelberg's possibly playing forward this week. He's got to go first.
Yep, I agree.
Dave.
Dave says, thoughts on Jackson versus Brayshaw this week? I'm assuming that is going to be Angus, because if you're just sort of around the same price, need to trade Green and Laird and getting Sarong. So Fry. So firstly, because you're obviously a Dockers man, what are your thoughts on Luke Jackson? Because I'm actually a bit of a fan of it, because I think Darcy might actually be out for a little bit longer than what we thought.
Yeah, all the buzz here in WA is that Darcy's going to be cooked for the rest of the year. So I don't know if Jackson will go out and average 100 over the final 6 games. But I tell you what, the times that Freo did play him without Darcy in the side, there was, I forget the game, I think it was against Hawthorn. So, take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But he's almost the taller midfield in there, running around, playing as the ruck in quotation marks, but plays like a midfielder. So if he plays in that role, there's no reason why he can't go out there and score, a couple of really handy 90s, maybe even push out a ton or two. So his value under 700k. So I don't hate the idea. I'd definitely be going for him over Angus Brayshaw. And if it is Andrew Brayshaw, you toss him up between. I think you pay up and you get him into your team. But yeah, Jackson offers a lot of value.
Yeah. So I'm just having a look here. So the game against Hawthorn, he only had the 3 hit outs. So I'd imagine but and he got a 117. So obviously a big score there. I'm just trying to sort of get a gauge as to. It looks like here that he's had the 2 games where he was a solo where he got a 119 and 94. I think if I'm correct in saying that. Just having a look. So Darcy missed rounds. 13, 14. So he's got essentially 2 scores over 90 and one a bigger one. So I think he can go at that 95 or so range. And I think with the top 6 forwards, I think it's probably lowered to a 95 as like the 6 best forwards. So if you can get a guy for under 700, it's going to go near a top 6 for at least the next few weeks at worst. But if not rest of the year, I think it's a good get. But I'd definitely be going him over Angus Brayshaw. Jacob's got this one, Tim. I know you've. It's been a bit tough for you, but I think you've said now, Docherty or Sicily.
Doc.
So,
you got to watch the tag on Sicily this week again.
What? Who's going to be tagging for you?
Wasn't it Ryan
Mansell, they were saying, yeah.
Does he actually tag?
Maybe, but look, I don't know. I think with the
I'd go Doc as well. Yeah,
yeah. It's price matchup. Yeah.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah.
Even if you take the possibility of take a possibility of a tag out of it, like we've talked in circles about taggers all year, but I think, like you guys were saying earlier in the episode, it's probably a wise idea to take it, consider it, but don't let it dictate your decision. And I think that Doc definitely offers more value going against the Eagles this week compared to Sick Dog.
Yeah. Joe's got this tough one. He's actually got 2 questions. So I'll go one to Fry, one to Tim. So Fry, I'll go the first one here. Do I bring in Errol or Merritt this week? Tough question. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. After pumping him up not so long ago, I think you have to side with Errol. You'd think Errol's probably more important if he's upgrading him into his forward line. Definitely a must-have player. Whereas, everyone wants to have Zach Merritt in their side, but hopefully you've got a lot of other big scorers in there. So I think I'd just pick Goulden, but yeah, it's close.
Yeah. Tim, have you got any differing opinions there, or are you Goulden as well?
I'm going to side with Fry here. The only exception would be if the difference in cash allowed you to do something important elsewhere. But yeah. I don't think it would.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'd be Errol as well. Part of that reason as well, I'm just a little bit worried for Merritt next week against the Swans. I think maybe Rowbottom could go with him. But we have seen that Merritt's been tagged and it doesn't really affect him like it has in the past. Like Merritt's been tagged before and he's gone 60s, whereas this year he's getting tagged and he's going 80, 90, and he's actually still getting a solid enough score. So I'd still side with Errol, but just a small fade for Merritt next week. And then, Tim, I'll go this one here. Doc, Steele, or LDU? I think this one's is just going to be, as Mini Munt likes to say, team dependent.
Yeah, no, I'll rank them in that order: Doc, Steele, and LDU. But once again, I'm not allowing for cash. So, if it's just those 3, then that's the order. But depending on what you can do with your other trade.
Yeah.
I mean, I think LDU, he's almost too... I think LDU potentially could go 120 for the rest of the year. And he's, what is he, $755,000? Like, I think it's very hard to turn down that value, especially when there's still 6 weeks to go. I mean, that's a quarter of the season. Like, it's not like we're only, 2 games away from there at the end. Like, you've got to be thinking still a little bit long term. Because if we hadn't had all the bullets these last 2 weeks, we would have been looking at improving our side. So, and you need the cash to be able to do that. And it is getting a bit dry on the bench as well. So,
yeah, I'm actually just pulling up here, like you were saying about the whole LDU to go at 120. I'm actually just pulling up if anyone has like sort of forgotten what LDU did do at the back end of last year. While my phone loads, I just want to get LDU scores.
And
up
then
from
this
last
is his
year.
run: Saints, Eagles, Melbourne, Essendon, Richmond, and Suns. Maybe Essendon
elite.
and Suns aren't great, but the others are all great matchups.
So
I
LDU's...
picked him to start the year, and he's actually, he's only played 10 games, but 3 of them he's gone over 120. So I tend to agree.
Yeah, LDU scores actually from round 12 onwards last year: 109, 138, 88, 124, 149, 110, 104, 68, 119, 141, 95.
I'd actually almost go Doc first, just because top 6 match up this week, captain option. I think I'd actually put LDU second, just purely for the value. I just don't think there's going to be anything between Jack Steele and LDU, but the difference is the cash.
Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I'm
still
thinking about it as well. Sorry, Bales. I reckon, go LDU. That's what, about 60 to 70 grand? That could be the difference between, getting a really good player or being stuck with, playing in the middle field that no one wants to be at this point of the year. So I think Doc LDU Steele's the right way, Tim.
Yeah, I'm Doc Steele, LDU Steele. I'm still Steele over LDU. Blair McGrath, so this one for you, Fry. Can anyone share any inside info on Jackson's sore hip? So I have heard a couple of rumours about this. Is there anything that you've heard or noticed, or are you still a bit the same with everyone, sort of not sure?
Pretty similar. I haven't heard anything that's, more in depth than what most people are probably reading on Twitter, but I wouldn't look into it too much. I mean, the injury list is starting to mount. They did bring in Josh Corbett as well, who is backup rucked occasionally. Josh Tracy's played that role from time to time for the Dockers and has done fine, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Corbett take some hit outs, but I think that Jackson should be sweet.
Yeah. Callum's got this one. Thoughts on going Libba over LDU, because I have a feeling he's going to get a tag. So we haven't talked about Libba as a bit of a pod. Is anyone interested in Libba or turning him as defeat?
Not over LDU. No.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd be going LDU, and we know Tim, as he said then, will be going LDU as well. Bram says Laird and Sheldrick to LDU and Sheasel. I can give you 3 ticks for all 3 of us there. We love those trades. Great moves there. Well, just quickly, Fry, what are your thoughts on Sheasel? Me and Tim were talking about him a little bit before, but are you keen on maybe bringing him back in, or I don't know if you still got him, but coaches bringing him back in? Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he can flirt with being a top 6 type of defender for the rest of the year. There's always the danger of a bit of a tag, but he's shown ability to access big scores quickly as well, which is a bonus. So I think, given his forward defender flexibility as well, there's been multiple times I've actually had him all season that I've been able to, have a red dot pop up in my forward line, sling him down there, something happens in the back line, flick him back. So having those 2 positions that you can utilise him in, I think just adds to the value.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that. Yeah, I like that, the flexibility he's got.
I just will add something to that as well, Bales.
Yep.
I'm happy to bring him in because I think he can score at that level, but I still have a lot of questions about him. And, next week for me, all going to plan, Darcy Cameron will get upgraded. But then after that, I'll probably want to upgrade Sheasel to someone better. So it's a matter of, I think he can score within the realm of that top 6. But for me, it's still a short-term play. I'm still just nervous having a bloody rookie on field,
Yeah, I remember I saw Rid's
and there's a lot changing. Anything could get moved around. He could get tagged. I think there could be some volatility, but for a short play, I think he's a good shot at the top 6 scoring.
Well, I know Rid's commented this on a post that I saw, a Twitter post I saw, that he was saying that with Sheeds it's a bit nerve-wracking with obviously Latton's still there. There's
bringing him back in.
There's moving parts. There's moving parts everywhere in North's team. Like, who's to say she doesn't play midfield? I don't like
bringing back in a rookie. It's just one of those things you just don't. I mean, if he gets a 50 this week, you'll just go, well, I knew that. You won't feel, you will be exactly like that. It's like, wow, that just exactly could have been what was going to happen.
Yeah,
well, actually, like you said, Tim, being in the position where if you've got a Himmelberg and you can only get up to a Sheasel, I think that for the short term,
Sheasel, bloody Himmelberg,
it's a tough one.
I really like this question from Susie, and I've completely forgot to talk about this before because a few people have been talking about this. So Susie says, for a bench spot to cover Laird this round, could you go Sheldrick to a George Hewitt against the Eagles? What are our thoughts on keeping a Laird and getting Hewitt
It's a good question. This is a really good question.
Yeah, and I like it. So what are your thoughts?
What do you reckon Hewitt's going to score this week?
I honestly think that. So when the news came out about Laird, and I was listening to the Traders team pod and having a look at a couple of other things, I actually flicked Darcy Wilmot out and got Hewitt in, and I was quite content to just have his score this week and then hold on to Rory Laird. But the reports of Laird potentially missing, and given the fact that we really are, on the eve of finals at the pointy point of the season, I'd much prefer to trade Rory Laird. That being said, everyone's team's going to be different. So if you could chop out Sheldrick and get Hewitt to plug the gap, he should be at least 85 to 90 this week. You'd think he's going to have access to a lot of midfield minutes with Chera and Cripper out. So, yeah, I don't hate the play for Hewitt, but he's still going to break even in the 70s as well. So he doesn't entice me too much. But for the people that want to hold on to Rory Laird, I think that if you can get your hands on Hewitt, that's definitely a play.
Yeah, I like it, but I'm Rory Laird biased, so anything to keep Laird in your team is good. I can't comment because I'll ruin people's teams. No, I think it's a trade. You've got to trade Laird as much as it pains me to say.
Yeah, I think that's the right choice. I mean, Hewitt does offer a bit of value, but, next week, if he's out again, then who knows where you're going to be.
Yeah, Tim has just jumped off. He's probably heading out somewhere, so we'll keep pushing through some of these questions. Joel says, hang on, Tim just requests back, so something happened there. That's all right, we'll get Tim back on.
Didn't like what we said about George Hewitt. He's not a fan.
Yeah. Joel says, what do you think about going Laird to LDU and Green to Steele with 370k left over next week? Are we happy to have that much cash left over, or would you rather maybe get a big dog like if you don't have one of those Bont, Merritt, Goulden, one of those guys in your team? Would you do that, or would you hold the cash?
Yeah, that's a lot of cash to carry over. I think those two are value, but yeah, I think we've just talked in circles about Steele and LDU, great targets, but I think there's a reason that your Bonts, Merritts, even someone like Petrarca, who's not getting a lot of buzz but has been pretty consistent all year, I think you pay up and you get one of those guys if you're chopping out both Green and Laird, because the last thing you'd want to do is have that extra cash and have a couple of dud scores. So yeah, I think I'd prefer to pay up for someone with a bit more proven track record this season at least.
I'm just thinking, like, why would you want 350 grand on the bank? Cash in the bank. It would only be if you're going to upgrade a rookie next week. And if you're going to upgrade a rookie next week, why the hell wouldn't you do it this week? So,
this is probably one where Joel, if he's going Laird to LDU and Green to Steele, if he's got a rookie on field, I'd rather hold Laird, upgrade that rookie because you're going to be playing a rookie on field anyway, and use that 370k on top of a rookie. So that's personally what I'd prefer to do. A few people have been saying as well that could you be getting a 23rd premium instead? So instead of holding that 370k, could you go hold Laird this week, have 22 premiums on field still, but go like a Green to Steele and then like a Johnson or a Sheldrick or something? Could you go one of them up to a Jackson or a Shees or someone like that, or an LDU? What are your thoughts?
This might be a little bit controversial, right? And I've heard I've heard a few people talk about this 23rd premium, but I'm like, if you've still got a Keys, a Darcy Cameron, a Sheasel, a Mills, like I just don't see. I can't understand the logic of having a 23rd in brackets primo when the reality is some of those players that you've got aren't a primo that you want to keep. Like I think the only time you can go to this 23rd primo is, once you've got all those players in, to potentially best 22. And I haven't looked at those top 10 teams, but I would struggle to see how any of those teams would not have one of those kind of players in them.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Imagine like you've got a Zach Butters type. You could turn him into Josh Dunkley. That's probably a trade that is much more advantageous than having a 23rd primo. I think there's people out there that still have like a Will Day even scoring really well, but you could upgrade him to one of the top 6 defenders you might not have. So I feel like a 23rd premium sounds good in essence this week. And then if Rory Laird is out, then obviously in round 20, then that could help you for the future. But I'd much rather upgrade and get more points this week on your field.
Yeah, well, if we'll just quickly going back, if Joel had all his rookies off field, what are our thoughts on going a rookie up to like even a Jackson or an LDU if he's getting Steele and then holding Laird? Are we a fan of that, or are we still trade Laird, trade Green, and does it matter? I'm only saying because he's got so much cash. It's like, well, he may be able to get one of those guys up. Even a Windhager could go to an LDU on his bench or something, and then you could just trade one of the dud sort of primos next week.
Well, like I said, I'm a bit similar. I'm doing the Green Laird combo out and actually getting in LDU and Steele, but that's because I've got, a lot of other issues to address, and I really need those injured blokes off and points on my field. If you're in a pretty good position, I can see why I'd want to keep that money. But yeah, I'd much rather go Johnson up to LDU or a type like that. The 23rd primo thing, though, does worry me. There's a lot of spanners that could be thrown into the works, and it could be advantageous to have another big dog, but I don't think there'd be too many coaches in that position. So, tricky one.
Yeah. Jason says, got a smoky VC option this week, not playing tonight. Yes, so we talk about the forward pro saying Doherty or a Goulden are probably the two ones there.
Doc, yeah.
And he says, who goes first, Day or Mills? I can go either. Well, I can answer that. I think it's Mills. Are we agreeing there?
Yeah, got to free up that mid spot.
Yeah, which I didn't think I'd be saying, but at the start of the year. But yeah, Day got Stays and Mills.
Day's got a good matchup as well.
Yeah, he's got two good matchups. He's got Richmond. He's got the Saints. So I think Collingwood after that, and Collingwood give up points to mids lately. So says thoughts on Nick Newman VC 160 in the year when he played the Eagles.
I mean, it's a VC. You can have a throw at the stumps if you want, but
if you got Dawson at the especially,
it's not someone I'd be picking.
Yeah, not someone I'd be.
Even with the Eagles matchup, I don't think there's enough green lights there to go with your VC. But like you said, that's why you get a free hit.
Well, Says, I know you he messaged me a DM and he was talking about Newman, but I think the fact you're getting Newman is like a bit of a pod. I think that's probably what you need. You probably don't want to double down. Might be a bit risky, but then again, it could be double the reward. But yeah, I probably wouldn't. I'd go VC someone else. Jay Singh says, can I field Windhager over Himmelberg this week? I can't loop. What are our thoughts?
That's a good question. Maybe
he's probably saying that maybe if Himmelberg plays forward, he's nervous.
Can he try? Can he trade out Harry Himmelberg instead? Make a trade where he trades out Harry Himmelberg. Like get him up to, like I said, on the other end, try and like a Laird down to make up some cash so you can get an LDU up to a Sheasel or
at worst
a Jackson I must be in the defensive line if you can't loop him.
No, but if he says Windhager over Himmelberg, I'd imagine he'd be in the forward line because they're both in the forward line.
But he's saying he can't loop.
Yeah, as in like can't loop between. Like I can't like bench. Field Windhager and loop Himmelberg on his forward bench. I think both are in his forward line.
Needs to make a decision. He can't.
Yeah. Oh, as Tim said, I'd trade Himmelberg because it wouldn't cost you not even 50, 60K to go to Jackson, for example. Like worst case, even Flanders is the same price as Himmelberg, and I'd rather him.
Actually, I want to ask Fry about Flanders. What do you think Flanders is going to do this week? I mean, he's been talked about a fair bit as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in Sam Flanders. I was talking to Bales about him last Thursday night, and I was actually trying to get him into my team. Yep. But 120 against the Saints was probably more than what I expect. He's a really convenient stepping stone that you can get to from a rookie type, and I think that his numbers over the last month have been elite. He's getting a lot more touches now of the footy rather than just running around a bit like a headless chook, which he's been doing for 2.5 seasons of his career. But yeah, I'm a really, really big fan of Flanders and think that he's going to be a pretty integral part of Gold Coast's future. So I wouldn't be shocked if we continue to see him average somewhere in the 90s, like low 90s, high 80s.
Similar price point to Jackson. Would you be going Jackson over a Flanders?
I'd go Jackson.
Yeah, I think I would too. And the only thing that would give me a little bit more faith in Jackson is the Sean Darcy injury. And Flanders is about, 70K cheaper. So, again, if you need that extra cash desperately, then you can make a play for both of them. But I'd be just picking Jackson.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right, well, it is 5 o'clock. Apologies that we didn't get to all the questions, but there was a lot of good questions tonight, and hopefully we answered it with all the discussion at the start. Just quickly, I'll run through the Content Creators Cup, the matchups this week. So we got some big ones this week. So we got Warnie's up against Roy, so a bit of a traders head-to-head there. You've got Calvin is up against Luke from the Ball Boys. And if Luke can get actually, no, Luke will fall just outside the 8, unfortunately. But he was like me, had a bit of a unlucky start to the year. Jake is up against Jepper, so good matchup there. Louis is up against Zave. Sanch is up against Holmesy. That'll be another good matchup there. Nathan up against DC, so a bit of a hat chat head-to-head there. You've got
second best coach on the pod.
Yeah,
Nathan, right? Is that right?
And funny enough, whereas Nathan is third, and he's already locked in the top 4. DC needs to win to stay in the 8. He's currently 8th on percentage ahead of Dossie, and Sanch, if he was to win, could jump ahead as well. So interesting there. Doss is up against Junk Tom Janners from Break Even. I'm up against Doe from Break Even. I'd love if I win again and 3 wins to finish the year. So something to hang my hat on. Then you've got Stato is up against Miller Time from Break Even Pod. And I think that was a matchup. So there wasn't any really big, significant, relevant matchups to come. Except besides, Tim is up against Mitch to take out the potential minor premiership. The winner takes all. Or if it's a draw, then that'll be a bit...
It's the last week of our season. Yeah, it's like I'm 2 points behind because I had a draw. So if I win, I go to the top. And if he wins, he holds the top spot. So,
if you draw, you actually still get it, Tim, as well, because you had the draw early in the year. So
that's right. And we're only a few points apart as well, I think, in our terms of our overall ranking as well.
Yeah, 19 points.
19 points. Bloody hell. Yeah. So
and then you've got Roy and Luke are on the exact same points, 38,844. So
it's crazy.
And they're literally Luke is 2873 and Roy's 2874. So we're interesting to see how that all finishes. Beautiful. All right, beautiful. Thanks, Fry, for jumping on once again, mate. Where can the people find you and the podcast, mate?
My pleasure, lads. Sports by Fry is where you can find me. Doing a bit of a Wednesday recap / preview each week. So 6 more weeks to go, and then I'll dive into the off season.
Yep, perfect, mate. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Pleasure.
Tim, where can they find you besides Varsity with myself and everyone?
The Varsity All-Stars party tonight, mate. Tim Guest you.
Perfect. And you can find me at BalesDT and trulybailshd on YouTube. We'll be back on Sunday night with the Ball Boys. They're jumping on to review the big matchup from the weekend and also the whole round. Hopefully we don't get as much carnage.
There will be strutting and there will be excuses from coaches. One coach will be strutting and the other one will have excuses.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it'd be good if hopefully we can get. It'd be good to get some cameras or something sorted so we can have our heads on the screen. But we'll see how we go. But thanks, guys. Hope you guys all have a good weekend. Hope there's no carnage for you and have a good high scoring round. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday night. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
See ya, lads.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.